Стой, стой, стой! Стой, стой!
Один командир сюда! Блядь, мужики, вы нужно стрелять по ногам! Стрелять буду! Стой! Вы нужно согласны,
Ребята, довольно, тихо! Мы в прямом эфире! Америка с нами! С нами, блядь, тише, 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 тише! Советский флаг, мужики, советский флаг! Вы стрелять будете? Боевая с нами наша! 2001 года! Все, Олегович, Олегович, тихо, тихо, это телефон. Поэтому мне приказ.
Сейчас командир придет сюда, идет.
Пожалуйста, командир.
Переговоры будут, не вопрос.
Да, переговоры будут.
Остановите толпу и пускай ведут себя.
Всем стоять на месте.
Служащие.
Стой, Олег Олегович, стой.
Мы все военнослужащие, если что. Мы еще граждане.
Но в угоду какому-то одному политическому деятелю мы сейчас столкнуты лбами. Два братских народа. Это неправильно.
Вы специально провоцируете
Мы не
нас.
провоцируем. Мы без оружия. Какая провокация? Взять самолеты стоит под охрану.
А вы что делаете вообще? Вы нас без оружия пришли на свои рабочие места. Все, что вы сами делаете, вы люди военные, вы нас понимаете.
The Russian troops laying siege to the Ukrainian military base at Odessa are strengthening their defensive positions. They're stopping food and water from entering.
You have a bag here.
Outside, mothers wait with supplies. Most do not get delivered. We tried to enter, but were threatened and told to leave.
Aggressive.
At the back of the base, we find another entrance, which isn't guarded by pro-Russian militia.
Спасибо.
These Ukrainian soldiers want their voices to be heard. Inside, the men are on edge. They're under orders not to use live ammunition, but have armed themselves with clubs and sticks. The threat is not the Kremlin soldiers, but the angry pro-Russian demonstrators gathering at the gates.
It is increasingly tense here. We've been here for, 30 minutes now, and it's been surrounded by pro-Russians. The Ukrainians are locked inside, effectively, prisoners in their own base. These people are pleading with them to give up to the Russian soldiers who are laying siege outside.
As we filmed, two men are brought into the base.
Look at his left hand. He's a criminal.
The Ukrainian soldiers say they caught them trying to cut the water and power supply. They claim pro-Russian militia are doing the dirty work for Putin's forces camped outside.
This is our enemies. We have threats from civilian population as the Cossacks and some Russian community with flags.
They threaten you?
Yes, they have provoked us and fright us. So
this causes tension?
Tensions, yes.
Many of the soldiers trapped in the base are young. They look frightened and as though they haven't slept. The supply of water is dwindling and the amount of food getting in is limited. But despite being outgunned and surrounded, they're defiant. Crimea belongs to Ukraine.
Will you fight for Crimea if you have to?
If we have to...
You'd pick up a gun?
I think yes, if we have to.
The chance of this crisis exploding increases with each passing day. A wrong move, a frayed temper, is all it could take. Alex Rossi, Sky News, for Dossier.
Updates on what we're understanding is developing here on the ground in Crimea. Earlier on here at Perevalnoye at this Ukrainian army base, we saw a considerable increase in the number of Russian troops. We got some pictures of them changing their guard. Now, my estimation is that there's at least 100 in the column coming one way and 100 in the column that they replaced. That's 2 companies of infantry. There will be a third in reserve, and there will also be support in the camp around the back here. That's a battalion of Russian infantry now. It's unlikely that that that's all come from Sevastopol. That does lend credence to the Ukrainian claims that Russian troops have been crossing the border. They've been here for some time, but they're definitely showing all signs of staying. Where we are at the base, it's fairly quiet now. The militiamen, the civilians that have been guarding the front of the base are still here. They've been drinking all night. They're not particularly cooperative with us at the moment. We're also getting reports from the east of Ukraine now, in the major city of Donetsk, that the Ukrainian flag is now flying over the Parliament building. That's a change. It's had the Russian flag above it for the last 4 or 5 days. And also reports from ministries in Kiev that they have plans to take over other government buildings that are currently occupied by militiamen. In other words, evacuate those that are sitting there in those buildings protesting and have them out. That is a development, that is a sign of proactive moves coming from Kiev, rather than Russia having all the initiatives this far with its allies.
On the naval front, behind us, we can see at least two of the Ukrainian fleet who are moored up in a small bay behind us, who are being blockaded in by Russian vessels. There's a minesweeper pointing directly towards this bay. There are a further 2 ships operating, just performing manoeuvres out in the harbour beyond that. A couple of smaller ships similarly moored up next to the Ukrainian vessels. I mean, all of which is a sort of, I guess, a maritime and naval equivalent of what you are seeing there outside the infantry base. Both sides are just watching each other, but very close together now, waiting for the politicians, I guess, to make the next move. But, you know, as we spoke about yesterday, a lot of this now is going to come down to the actions of individuals here on the ground.